Of course, I normally prefer to take souls one at a time, but, you know, I had taken some vacation days, and it was the end of the month, and so, you know how it goes.
Fuck me. I know, Chief, and I'm sorry for calling you at home and all, but I think we got kind of a problem.
No matter how you see Joseph Smith, from about 1840 forward, we know publicly that the Mormon Church had 1, polygamy, and 2, a council of 50. As a Mormon member, I have to confess to you, I never, ever knew that our tithing dollars were going to be building a nation within a nation. But Dr. Quinn points out that we have extensions of power.
Now and then, I think it's been important to focus on the fact that governments operate only by force, and we don't have access to angels.
I've got to save them!
Or to immortal super beings to govern over us. That part has to be done by humans, and that's why we've got to be very careful about power. That's a key focus of written out of history.
Well, and isn't that the gene?
I covenant in the name of the Son that I will never reveal the first token of the Melchizedek priesthood or sign of the man, with its accompanying name, sign, and penalty. Rather than do so, I would suffer my life to be taken.
It's one of the reasons why a couple of years ago I got together with a few of my colleagues in the House and in the Senate, and we put together something called the Article 1 Project. And the idea of the Article 1 Project was to identify areas in which Congress has just categorically relinquished its authority. Governments operate only by force. We don't have access to angels or to immortal super beings to govern over us.
The second volume. I believe these came out around 1994, 97, something like that. These extensions of power show how the polygamy families have held on to power in Utah, so that whether it's Democrat or Republican, they're in power. From about 1843 or so until 1930, there were secret oaths of vengeance against the United States.
I covenant in the name of the Son that I will never reveal the first token of the Melchizedek priesthood or sign of the man, with its accompanying name, sign, and penalty. Rather than do so, I would suffer my life to be taken.
They wanted to destroy the United States even after statehood, and those oaths were told to their children and children's children.
Empowering the priesthood be upon me and upon my posterity to all generations of time and throughout all eternity. What is that? The second token of the Melchizedek priesthood.
So even if this clique of polygamous descendants did not have them public in the temple like they were for everyone before 1930, they were still tracking through the families. This affects the Durhams, the Durants, the Lees, Mike Lee, his brother on the Utah Supreme Court, all of them devoted to building a literal, political, physical kingdom of God on earth. Now, Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world." Here's my question that I had. Everything about Jesus is supernatural. He's Alpha and Omega before the world was. He's after it. His birth was supernatural. His conception was supernatural, going by the Bible. Does he need humans to run his kingdom? They might serve him, but he doesn't need one head to declare a theocratic monarchy.
Tithing will keep your name enrolled among the people of God and protect you in the day of vengeance and burning.
And that's exactly what the territorial Utah Supreme Court ruled against. And that is exactly what we've got now. We have, in 1984, your leaders gave you a constitutional amendment where you destroyed the three-branch form of government over your legal extensions, your lawyers. So your lawyers can't go to the legislature, they can't go to the governor. Now, ask yourself, who are justices on that Supreme Court? Are they directly operating under the only true prophet, seer, revelator, and his theocratic empire that is infiltrating every government, every business, every society that they can possibly get their church into? Around the world. To top it off, we have here the third volume, D. Michael Quinn's Wealth and Corporate Power.
Using that straight line projection, the amount that comes up for tithing alone in 2010 is $33 billion with a B dollars. On top of that is what I call commercial income. Income from for-profit businesses, which are by their definition, are for-profit. Profit from sales of generally non-profit businesses like welfare farms to the general profit, or rather to the general public, which in those cases are made like Desert Industries sells to the public. And even though they sell at a very moderate rate, that is income, taxable income, by state and national standards. And then there is the portfolio of the church, which is stocks and bonds, and how much they make or don't make. In the late 1960s, as well as in the late 1970s, the church was receiving about 50% of its income from tithing. And the rest came from investments and for-profit businesses. The investments of the church he limited to blue chip stocks and bonds, which meant the highest pay, the most secure, the least risk involved in those highest levels of investment. So I think that my estimate of tens of billions is probably close to the mark of commercial income from all the sources, not just the portfolio, but also for-profit businesses and nonprofits like welfare farms that also sell some of their produce to the public and are taxed on that.
This did not come out till, I believe, 2017, so it's really rather recent. But if you want to know what your tithing dollars have been building, for a hierarchy of pioneer royalty descended from polygamy, it's right here. In Michael Quinn's book, Origins of Power. I've put the bibliography, a portion of it, on my website, and you can see for yourself that the church officials were involved in polygamy, polyandry. Some people today would call that adultery. They were involved in forming a militia, forming an army with the pronounced goal of overturning our country's government.
Operate only by force, and
they hated our government. What this hierarchy has been carrying out secretly in my opinion, is forming a nation within a nation. Mike Lee, I ask you, who do you work for?
The fact that governments operate only by force, and we don't have access to angels or to immortal super beings to govern over us.
Your church, temple, sworn oath, or your oath to uphold the United States, because they aren't the same.
3 times the words, "O God, hear the words of my mouth. O God, hear the words of my mouth."
That part has to be done by humans, and that's why we've got to be very careful about power. That's a key focus of Written Out of History.
Well, it's secrecy by infiltration. You, Mr. Romney, were you taught the oath of vengeance as a child? You and Mike Lee and all of these other leaders that had temple endowments before 1990 took blood oaths. I know this is a hard thing for people who are walking and talking and believing in the Mormon faith, but understanding that it's rooted in criminality, immorality, lies and deceptions. It's just unbelievable to me. If you're a bar member, if you're going to be a bar member, if you're going to associate with any Utah bar member or sworn Mormon, please look us up. I don't think it's an accident that NSA is right here.
In jeder Stunde, an jedem Tag, nur zu denken an Deutschland, an Volk und an Reich.
And the Lord will deliver Laban into your hands.
Nephi, the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Behold, the Lord slayeth the wicked, to bring forth his righteous purposes. It is better that one man should perish, than that a nation should dwindle and perish in unbelief.
I speak unto you even with an oath.
Oh, by the way, did I mention that I was in Europe? There was an Elvis sighting there, so I figured I'd check it out, but it was just a fat guy in a sequin suit. I took him anyway.